Welcome back to the SpringBoot demo project. See here, after completion of all these layers, now we have to run the application. So for that, we have to move to the main method class and then click on run button. Okay, and if you see here, you can see the changes are happening, and you can see table is created for us inside the database. Okay, now application is running in the server. So now in order to save the data, we are using Postman application. Okay, we are using Postman application. We are using JSON object to save the data. Okay, so just go to the Postman application, and here you look at here. If we see inside the controller, we used post mapping annotation. Means we use post mapping in order to save the data. To save the data, post mapping or log validating login validation or login validation purpose we use this annotation. Okay, now so we have to provide the URL which is ending with student, and if you see server, what is the port number, have to look at the port number. So on the port number 8080 the server is running. So here you have to be very careful because you cannot use HTTPS. Okay, so we'll provide student as a URL and use post to save the data, and here we have to provide which are matching with the variable names inside the entity class. So inside the student class we have ID, name, English, max and science. Okay, only these members we have to use. Okay, so here what I am doing now, so I have to provide only five data. Remaining results will be calculated in this application. So let us pass for now those details. ID number we have to provide. Just it can be represented as members. So here I am passing ID number 1. Here name I am passing Rajkumar. Here the next one is English marks. So English marks 56, comma. So I'll just copy paste. Done. And at the end you should not provide comma. Maths. As it is you have to type. If it is not matching with the variables, we get exception. Maths, science. Okay. So right, these are the marks of this candidate, and make sure the variable names are matching with these names. ID name, English, maths, science. Yes, those are matching. Now I'll click on send button. Okay. Yes, you can see the data is reflected. But here if you see, we are getting a result as default value and grade is also null. Now we have to set up our project in such a way that where it will calculate all the marks along with result and percentage. So inside the service layer we have to write all such methods. Okay, so here I am writing in order to get the public result, I want total result. So result is of return type double result. Okay, which requires student So here what I will do, return student dot get English, student dot get maths, student dot get science. So I'm calculating all those three results, and next is public double percentage. Next one is percentage. This we are writing inside the service layer. Percentage. So percentage will be based on the result. So result I will keep. Okay. Next, total percentage like return. Okay. What is the result? Total result by 300, okay, into 100. But I will use 0.0 because result is in double format. So I will use double. This is Java, not Max. Okay. So done. Percentage will be calculated. Next method is grade. Public string grade. Grade is based on the percentage. Double percentage. So I have to write if else ladder for this. If percentage greater than or equals to greater than 35, it will be like some grades, else it will be he will be failed. So what I'll do, return fail. Okay. Next we'll use internally if again. Percentage greater than 90, he will get return A plus, else if percentage greater than 75, double and percentage less than or equals to 90. Okay. So open the curly brace and write return A. Now what I will do, I'll copy paste this, else if copy paste. Now I'll just make changes. 55, 75, 45, 55. So I will keep here B grade, C grade. Once again I have to paste. That is 35, 45. So here we will mention it as D grade. Then we have set up all these methods, and once look at here so that you can copy this. Okay. Very simple only. Very simple this one. This is just if else ladder where you can do by yourself. Nothing to worry. Okay, here what we are doing, we are calling those methods. We'll set inside the student object. Student dot. Sorry. So we have to call we require this class object here itself. At the rate auto-wired student service what I will do, uh, student dot set result. I have to set the result, set result. So here what I am doing, just I will make it small so that it looks good. So here service dot result. So I'm passing the student object. Next, student dot set percentage. Sorry, student dot set percentage service dot percentage. So here we have to pass the result. So in that case, what I have to do, better what I should do is, so I'll take the variable double, so what I will do, result equals to service. So better we can do like this. This one I will remove from here, I will paste it here so that I can pass the result here. Done. Very cool. So now I will pass this result for this percentage method. Okay. Now I have to pass the percentage. So for this also required one more, which gives percentage, double percentage equals to service dot percentage. For that I have to pass the result. Just don't confuse. I am passing the result here. Here I have to pass the percentage. Okay. Next, student dot set grade. I have to set the grade. So for the grade we have to send the percentage. So here I am sending the percentage. So how I should send directly? Service dot grade. For that percentage I have to send. So that will be set. Okay, these all things are easy only. You can easily understand. Done. Everything is clear. Now, as usual, we'll pass the data. Okay. Now already there is a data with ID number 1, that is Rajkumar. Okay. So I have to pass other data. Let us check whether it will be calculated or not. I'm passing that new data 2. So side, no. I'll pass Pawan. So Pawan 66, Max 96, 86. Now I'm clicking send. Okay, we didn't get any response only. So what might be there is an issue. Relying upon circular references is discouraged. Break cycle. Okay. Like it is telling that we should not use auto void in the same class. That is the mistake. Pins in the application context from the cycle. So we should not ask for student service IMPL in the same class. That is the mistake we have done. So what you have to do, you have to remove that student service. Anyhow, you can directly access it. Okay, so just remove that service. Directly you can access. or with the help of this keyword also you can access. So better we use this dot, this dot, this dot. Now there is no problem. Application is running, yes. So we didn't get any problem. Now I will run the application, I will send the data. Now we'll check out whether it is calculated or not. Yes, successful. We got the total result and percentage and along with grade. Okay, cool. Okay, everything is well and good. Now what if I want to send the one more data? Okay, by mistake I forgot to change the ID. So I'm changing the ID with new name. Okay, Gautam. New values. I'm sending the same ID. Look at here properly, everyone. See the ID number with ID number 2, who is the student, Pawan is the candidate. But I am trying to send the same ID, but I don't know whether that ID is present or not. So I am sending one new name. Now we'll see whether it will work or not, or else it will give any problem. So now I'll click on send button. See here, it is updating the older data. It is not telling anything that ID number is present. Now this is the problem for us. Why? Because it is overriding the data which is already present inside the database. Previously we have seen there is the details with name Pawan. Now it is replaced with Gautam. So for this, what we need to do? We have to stop the process, and we have to tell the client who is using this application if he is trying to push the data with same ID. So in that case, we have to create a custom exception and intimate the user that that the ID which he was giving, which is present already, to one more person. So in that case, what we have to do? So we have to create one custom exception. Okay, what is this? Another layer, very simple. Say in every project, there will be some issues. Okay, if the user is trying to push the data, okay, step number 6, this is, if the user is trying to push the data with ID, which is already present, you have to stop the application using custom exception. So we are writing exceptions, custom exceptions in the exception layer. So for that, select such a media controller class. So we are creating a custom exception called ID already exists exception. Very simple only, not so difficult. You feel easy. Dot exception. Look at here the package name, you can see here. Package name is ending with exception. So you just make it as exception by extending the runtime exception. Sorry. Runtime exception. Now save the class. Then exception layer is created with a custom exception, that is ID already exists. So now what we have to do? We have to raise the exception inside the service layer, so that whenever the user is passing the data with ID, which is already present inside the database, Now we have to stop the application if the user is using the ID which is already present. Now before that, now how you would find out that ID is already exists? So for that you need to create a method in order to check whether the given ID is present or not. So here we don't need to implement any method here, just we need to provide the abstract method here. the internal JPA repository, Spring Data JPA framework, will write the method implementation for us. So for that, now we want a kind of value. Okay, we are just checking whether the ID is present or not. Means in the case whether the ID is present or not, the answer will be like yes or no. Means in our Java format, we have to ask in such a way that it gives an answer boolean value. If ID is present, it's a boolean. Okay, if ID is present or not, it will give in the reply true or false. If the ID is present, it will give true. If the ID is not present, it gives false. Means here you have to understand boolean is the return type of that method, and for getting all boolean values as the result, you have to use exists by. Okay, you can use only exists by. Why? Because you are asking for a boolean value. Exists by ID. You cannot use any other word apart from this. If you are trying to use some wrong name, it gives an exception, the application will be stopped. Now you can see here, see here we are getting exception. See here once, look at here, what it is saying, no property exists ID found for type student. So it is not accepting that keyword. So you have to use exists by. S keyword, S word also is mandatory. Now I will try to save the class. Now you can see the application is running fine. Okay. So just we need to pass the ID for this method. It gives the boolean value. Now where we have to use this? Inside the service layer. Okay. So here first what we have to do, boolean condition equals. Okay. So from repository we are asking student repository dot exists by ID. So here we have to pass the ID, student dot get ID. Then if ID is already present, it returns true. So then what we have to do, we have to throw the exception. Anyhow, it is a single line statement, we can write directly. We have to use throw keyword in order to raise the exception. Throw new of ID already exists. Exception done. Now save the class. So we are raising the exception inside the service layer. Okay. Now we'll check out. Right. Now let us see. Look at here, careful everyone. Now I am trying to pass the details with the ID which is already present inside database. ID number 2 is already assigned for the candidate Gautam. Okay, now I am trying to push the data with ID number 2. So now let us see what happens. See here, we got 500 internal server problem. Okay, so where is this? Yes, here you can find out ID already exists. Okay, here as a developers we can understand. Okay, whenever we are trying to push the data which is already present with that particular ID, we will get exception. But for the client you have to give proper information. So for that what you have to do, you have to display the proper information so that he can understand easily. So for that what we have to do, we have to take separately some layer that is called advice layer. We call it as advice layer. It's very simple and very interesting also. So custom, see here, custom exception should be thrown and it should be handled using advice layer to handle the custom exception. This advice layer is very interesting, and look at here carefully everyone. Hope you go to an Eclipse. So wherever the exception is raised, that exception is handled by this layer on. So just create a class package ending with advice. Means it is giving an advice uh, whenever the client is doing a mistake. Student, we can name it as global exception handler. Means wherever exception is raised, it is handled by this class. Global exception handler. I'm naming it as global exception handler. Now to represent this as an advice layer, okay, to represent this as an advice layer, we are using an annotation that is controller advice. What is the annotation to represent this as an advice layer? Controller advice. Now wherever the exception is raised, exception handled from this layer. So for that, here we are using one annotation to invoke this try catch block, a kind of try catch block. Okay, which exception you are going to handle, you have to provide here. ID already exists, exception dot class. Then you have to write the method here, public, and okay, and here definitely you have to use a response entity class, which is provided by Spring Framework, to represent the exception that is created by the user. Response entity. Right. It is provided by Spring Framework. Means what it will do, like it will give proper explanation along with the code also. Handle ID already exists exception. So here you have to throw the parameter, the same parameter. ID already exists exception. E. So here return. You have to send response entity object So here you have to pass the two parameters. One, the ID already exists. Please use another ID. So if we provide this information, the user can easily understand. And we have to send along with this the code also. HTTP status dot. Okay. Right. What it is found. Okay. Means the ID is already found now. We have to represent this. Now here, what is happening here actually? Let's see more clearly. Now I'll show you what is happening. By like a kind of picture, I'll show you. Now you look at here, the exception object is raised whenever the ID exists. Whenever the ID is already exists inside the database, it will be raised from the service layer. Whenever this exception object is created, it will be handled by the it will be handled by these advice layer. These advice layer. So how it is raised? Can you see here? Exception handler is there. Okay, it is the replacement for try and catch block, but the extra thing is here we are not using try and catch block at this place. Instead of that, this annotation is taking care of each and everything. This exception object, whenever it is created inside the service layer, it is immediately caught by this method because of the exception handler. This controller advice is acting as a medium which takes all the exception objects which are created inside service layer. Okay, so here whatever the data string data you have written, it will be coming into the picture. Now let us see clearly. So exception is will be handled or not, let us look at about this. So first make sure that you have saved all the files. Okay, all the files are saved. Okay, nothing is missing, right? Now we'll try to send the data. Okay, so whether it is running properly or not, have to check. Right, we did not get any problem. Now we'll try to send the data. See here, now I am click on send. See here, we are successful. The ID already exists. Please use another ID. Right, and thank you a lot everyone for spending your time for this to learn this concept, and it's more interesting Spring Boot. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed the session. Thank you.